Hey everyone, welcome to the channel, and I got a fun night planned for this live show. Joining me, my good friend Spen. I think 2021 was the last time he was on the channel, but everyone got my buddy Ben Goldsmith on the show again. Ben, how's it going?
Great. 2021. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago. I didn't realize that it had been. I just moved. We were talking a little bit about that. I moved across the country, did the old 3,000-mile trek, and I totally took a backseat to everything. Actually, the thing that we are going to talk about a little bit has been done for a while, but I knew that I didn't have the bandwidth to take care of anything, knowing that, it's a big moving across the country is a big deal. I don't know if you've ever done it, but it's a lot. But thank you for having me back on, man. When you asked me, I still get so excited when people ask. I think, I think I actually try to think about that a lot with just life in general and not just comic stuff, but it feels good to be asked to do things, so thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's always a blast, going back from, if you want, I think 4 years is a long time. 7 years was the first time where we did the interview at the Terrificon.
Oh my God.
And it's always a blast. I think it was the next year, and then I had you on the channel. We wanted one of these, so it's crazy. And you've been busy, but you mentioned the move. You're move from Massachusetts to LA or California.
LA, yeah. You can dox me. It's fine.
And
I mean, I'm wearing the shirt, so.
And being a huge Boston sports fan, what's it been like moving to kind of, some of the Evil Empire territory for?
Yeah. So a funny thing about that is I was fortunate enough to get to go to the Netflix WWE premiere, right?
Awesome.
The one,
yeah.
with the first episode where I went to Netflix, and oh my God, it's gonna kill me. But I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. But the Celtic, who's now a commentator on sports networks and everything.
Scalabrine?
Say again?
Brian Scalabrine?
No, not the White Mamba. Another fellow. I served him once in a place in Medfield, and anyway, so oh God, I can't think of it. It'll come to me later. But so he was in the crowd, and he held up his Celtics, stuff, and the whole crowd booed him except for me. I was like, yeah, But otherwise, can you? By the way, can you hear my wife chopping food on the world's loudest cutting board?
Slightly.
You can. Okay. I just want to make sure. I also think the neighbors upstairs who are doing their podcast can hear that as well. What are you making for Mike tonight?
Ooh.
I hope you mean Mike, our invisible friend.
No, I mean Mike in Boston. We're gonna go.
Oh, sorry, Mike. Just barbecue chicken with a side of sautéed vegetables.
Barbecue chicken with a side of sautéed vegetables.
That sounds awesome.
It's pretty good. She's a very good cook. Yeah, it's definitely you see every other wall in Los Angeles is a Kobe Bryant mural, for good reason. Obviously, he meant a lot to this city, but it's definitely not my town anymore. There is down the way, about a mile from our house, there is a bar called Sonny McLean's, which is famous for being a Boston bar. Because they have the Pats logo on the side and all this kind of stuff. So that's kind of nice, a little bit of home. But I mean, the thing about a place like Los Angeles, and I think a lot of major cities, is you get such a mix of people that you'll see. I was wearing this, so this is the thing I was going to tell you earlier. I was wearing my Patriots sweatshirt out at a farmer's market down here. I was walking down, and it was kind of rainy out, so I threw on the sweatshirt. And my skin's already thinned, right? Being out in 60 degrees, but if it's kind of rainy, I'm oh, fuck it, this is the worst, and you guys are back home, just scooping ice, it's nothing. And so I'm walking through the place, and the guy calls over to me, and he goes, "Hey, New England? And I was like, oh, the Patriots thing? And he goes, nah, you're wearing shorts. I was like, oh yeah. So I guess it's like, you know, you can take the boy out of New England, but you can't take New England out of the boy. So yeah, man, that's been so far a couple little stories.
So I prepared a little, and this is very intro to PowerPoint slideshow here. You have been busy. One of your prior projects that we've talked about on the channel here, the Seance Room, your comic book, got some exciting news going on Kickstarter right now.
Yeah, very exciting. Oh, there it is. So there is it is a novel. We did a collection of short stories that all take place in the Seance Room. The Seance Room, I've been doing the Seance Room for 10 years now. It is actually the 10-year anniversary of the first issue. And since that time, we were able to do the Hack Slash crossover, the Tim Seeley book. We were able to do a book with Ben Templesmith. We traveled the country selling it, and been very, very lucky. But I had a whole bunch of stories and a whole bunch of time and not a ton of money, you know, because the thing is like to make a comic book, it takes a lot of time. I think most people who are watching this probably know that. You know, one issue can take a year, easy, especially if everyone's got full-time jobs, everyone's working, you know, it's just not feasible to knock these things out. I think, was it Ryan Otley who just went viral with his description of like why pencilers can't knock books out the way they used to? Did you read that?
I saw that. I didn't read it. I did see that.
So this thing's gonna take time, and then, you know, I had a lot of stories that were sort of backed up, and I said, you know what, I'm just gonna write them. I'm gonna write prose, and we'll see what happens, you know. And then just kept going, and then actually offered, in the last Kickstarter we did, I offered a tier where someone was able to write a story about the Seance Room. So then they actually were able to use the ghosts and play in the Seance Room, which is included in this as well. So it just kind of grew and grew and grew, and then finally I moved, and I said, let's do it. Let's pull the trigger. And I set the goal really modestly, like you know, really just to like pay myself a little bit, but just to have it exist. And we hit the goal, and we did really well. I set a stretch goal. So not only is everyone, the book is, we fund it, right? So you said like some really interesting, exciting news. Yeah, it's exciting because it's a Kickstarter that you can back for the next 4 days, but it's also already funded. So we hit the first stretch goal, 2,000. Now everyone's going to get a bookmark made from the original. Stop it! Look at you with your PowerPoints ready to go. That's actually very cool. How excited were you when you were able to just like, you're like, I know what to do? That was great.
Powerful feeling. It's too much power.
I commented that was not cool. I should have just kept going like, yeah, those. Yeah. Yeah, so the bookmark are going to be made from the original pages of the comic, right? I'm making original like bookmarks. They're going to be, you know, laminated, tassels. I got charms, the whole 9 yards. They're going to be great. And then I believe, I didn't check, but I'm almost positive that we probably hit that second stretch goal before I got on with you.
Oh, hell yeah. Awesome.
So everyone will now be getting a custom horror story handwritten on the back of a vintage postcard.
That's awesome. And that's going back to what you used to do at conventions.
That's right. And I haven't done them for a long time. So I sort of screwed myself. I now have to do minimum 50 of those. But you know what? Let's make it worth it. Let's do something that's, I mean, they're actually really fun to do. The only problem is my hand cramps up so bad. It's not, you could tell me I'd like write 50 stories and type them up, it'd be like, great, let's do it. I'll get it done today. But like, it's just the physical element sucks. So, you know, and if you have a good idea for a third stretch goal, I'd be all ears, because we might need it.
Awesome. Oh, putting me on the spot here. Ooh, I'm gonna have to get
Where's
back.
your next PowerPoint for that?
Oh, I'm only one man.
That would have been so epic if you had been like, well. And then,
I do have some of those fun tier levels.
yeah. What does it say? Is it does it say? Does it say how much it's backed already or no?
I do have the Kickstarter opened up in another tab. Ooh, we're very close.
Like how close? Like.
Oh, actually, the ticker just went 2471. That just went from 2430.
So we have $29. You know what? Nope. Actually, you know what? If one person backs it, that's $29. Hold on, we're gonna blend some stuff real quick.
Like 5 seconds.
5 seconds. Just 5 seconds. Everyone talk amongst yourselves. We're gonna blend some of this. This is part of that chicken situation. So I was saying that, but you know what? I was gonna say, so that's one backer, because it's with shipping, $29 for the book. Don't no one else back it, so that I don't have to do 50 plus handwritten cards. So everyone, if you were thinking about doing it right now, just don't. You don't want a free bookmark and an amazing book of collected horror short stories and a free postcard that has your choice of a horror story. You don't want that. Don't do it.
What if I were to tell you that I was going to back it right after this?
you son of a bitch. It would actually be really funny if you were like forever the reason that I do. Let's really back it up. I do hope that we exceed that goal, because that would be great. That being said, it would be very funny if you were the reason I had to do at minimum 50 written cards.
Because I was going to do it before the show, but I want to have this nice PowerPoint prepared, so I got to be professional. I got to get the PowerPoint made, and then I'll just do it after. We still got a couple days left, and
that's hilarious, dude.
Now I've been bestowed even more power, more of a Sophie's choice, if you will.
I think that's actually really funny. Yeah. So now I definitely have to think of a next stretch goal. But it's been great, man. We here actually I can show you. So the lucky thing is my printer I actually got to print out a copy. To make sure, obviously that all the art direction was good, and that the actual the font is where I want it to, because I did a first one, and it was the font was so small that I kind of based it off of the fact that what kind of light would I have to put on this in order to read it myself, right? and if the answer is natural light and a lamp, it's too small. So I was able to actually print it out and got the nice back there. The cool thing about this is that Dustin Irvin, who did issue 3, 4, and Hack Slash, he did original pieces of art just for this, and they're stunning. So my first thing obviously is the cover. It's an homage in a way to the Creep Show.
Oh yes, wow, yeah.
Where he's looking over his back and you kind of see the skeleton hand. And I really like how subtly spooky it is. That there's that little element of something is amiss here, because that's at the end of the day, every story of the Seance Room. And for people who have never heard of it or read it, or if you've listened for 15 minutes already and are still here just because you like Mike and I, that's great. If you want to hear what it's about, the Seance Room is a place where this guy Harry essentially has trapped these 6 ghosts, and every issue of the comic and every story here, and they run about 20 pages on average in this book. They end up in the seance room. One of the ghosts is called based on why they're supposed to be there. Sometimes the people are there on purpose, sometimes they are not. But by the end of it, it all kind of shakes out into this Twilight Zone-esque horror story with, you know, sort of reflective, humanistic reflective qualities, right? So what, and one of the cool things is I'll sort of show you, let me find one of the pages, is that, so Dustin did, for every story, he did a new original concept drawing, right? So like this one is the Vanity Mask. And so he did this really sort of spooky, twisted drawing just for that story, right? So
That's
even
awesome.
though it's prose, you're still getting some of the elements of the comic book as well. I'll show you another one. This one is Warming Hearts, and it's the conductor, who's the ghost of time. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Cool. So these really gorgeous pieces, and I'm actually selling them as part of the Kickstarter. There's 6 of them, and no one has bought them yet. I will say they're about $250, right? And they are priced that way because they are the price of the art is the majority of that cost, right? Like to get the original drawings, like I've paid him to do the art, but they're his, he owns them. So to actually physically acquire those pieces, and they're all like, I think like 11 by like an 11 by 19, like the fairly decent size drawings. Most of that money is going to the actual artist to pay for those pieces. So they are more or less like loss leaders, but at least they do exist so people can get them.
Awesome. That's great.
And the original cover art sold, I saw. So that's great. That was what's here, but the original cover art and back cover art are now gone as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got the tiers pulled up on the screen now. So with just $25, that's, you still get an awesome deal. You get the book, you get a signatures from from yours truly, right?
Indeed you do, unless you don't want it, and then you don't have to have it.
There you go. Got options. And then you got the concept art, which, looking at the photo, that stuff's pretty cool.
Yeah, so that one, so that would be the opposite of the original art tier, where you're getting an absurd deal. Dustin has a ton of art, all hand drawn, that he did either for the comics or in coming up with the comics. But everything, he essentially didn't really need it. So he offered to give up a whole bunch of it so that for this Kickstarter. So essentially you can have a true hand-drawn original piece of art for pennies on the dollar, because it also includes the book, right? And then so you're and now the bookmark, and then also, depending on what Mike decides to do later, the handwritten horror story cards. Crazy. I mean, that one's the deal. Like, so that was the deal that if I was going to do it, that's the one that I would do, because I also know how much that stuff costs, right? Like I sort of know how the sausage is made. Yeah. And then I did, so actually the boss tier right there that you have pulled up, that is actually a tier that I made specifically for a friend of mine who had a kind of a, he's a completist, and there was a bunch of stuff he didn't have. And I said, let's just make you a tier and I'll get you everything that you don't have, and we'll put it all together in the boss.
That's awesome. Justin, thanks for tuning in. Justin No Good Comics is a great YouTube channel. He does a lot of great work in his channel, and always appreciate when he tunes in.
Woo!
So yeah, so you got the boss, and then you mentioned the one of 6, the hand-drawn original art, and then the Seance Room bundle. So does that involve some of the previous issues?
All
Your
all
comics?
the issues, all the previous issues. I figure, anytime you see like this kind of stuff, you want to have sort of the base line, right? And I think it's like a pretty decent price too. Consider what is it set at right now? I totally forget.
75.
Yeah, so 75. So you have to figure that the base tier of just the book alone is 25, right? So
Yeah.
now you're looking at $50 for 8 comics that are all independently created, so not mass produced. You're doing all right,
Absolutely. Now you said you had a lot of these like backed up, ready to go. But doing a novel compared to the individual issues, and I guess eventually the collected edition, which you did, was it easier just doing the novel and not having to do it the comic book format?
Yeah, that's probably the most interesting thing about this whole thing, right? Is that to take something that I've been doing as a comic for 10 years, and then how does that actually work as prose? The lame answer is they're different, right? They're just different mediums. But the thing that is better about doing a book than doing a comic book is that I'm the full director. Like when I make comics, I really try to be conscientious about being a co-creator with people instead of just a dictator. There's like there's things that the artist is going to see. That's their job, right? Is composition. Like there's things that they're going to see that I would never have understood. They'll illuminate elements that I hadn't considered. With prose, what I focused on was making sure that like the emotional beats hit more. So with a comic, I would be more concerned about like the physical stuff, right? Because it's show don't tell in a lot of ways, and it's hard to show if someone is on a fulcrum point of a decision, right? It's hard. There's ways to do it, but to really dive in and vivisect the nuance of a decision, I can take a moment that in a comic book would be one panel, right, of someone going like, and then expound, right? Like, so say he either does or doesn't do something. In a comic, you have to have the point of like he does or doesn't, and then sometimes there's context, right? So you can kind of build up the ultimate decision. But with real estate being hard in comic books, you can't then say like, well, here's the 12 factors that went into making that decision. So now all of a sudden, you're as committed to this decision as they are. Because you're able to then break that down and say. So that was the stuff that I liked the most, was to say the inner lives of some of the things I was working on got to be more fleshed out, which then raises the stakes on everything, because a butterfly flaps in the past and we have an earthquake today, right? Like you sort of get to see the concentric circles of the ripple growing before they eventually hit the shore. That's the thing that I got to do in the prose that I wasn't able to do in the comic.
That's awesome, and that stuff's just fascinating to me. You don't, not many art. I guess there's been a handful of guys throughout the years that have done comics and novels. Chris Claremont, and just name one that comes to the top of the head. But to hear kind of the differences coming from someone who is in both worlds, very fascinating.
Well, and Chris, like, because it's even because if you look at Chris's stuff, like it was very, it was prose based writing from the start, right?
Yeah.
And we even now, like we live in an age where with comic books, the relationship between the artist and the writer is much more intertwined. Like I think writers now are very aware of making sure that they're writing the non-spoken stuff into the panel for the artist to do. So like it's half and half, right?
Yeah.
So the Chris Claremont to prose, like that makes a ton of sense. That's how he was doing it before. It is. I actually, I mean, this might sound self-serving, but I agree with you. I think it's super interesting, the difference between writing a novel and then writing a comic, and they're not the same thing at all. But I did. So one thing I did in this book is that there's so many new stories. There are 2 stories that actually did make it into the comics, but I wanted to do again because I felt I could do them different, and there's a artistry that I wanted to catch, right? Like I liked, I don't know, I guess it's like a director's cut, you know?
Yeah.
Like you can be happy with a thing and still feel like it's there's more life to it that hasn't been taken. So, yeah.
And it gives you a little bit more, like you said, in the idea of a director's got a little bit more flexibility, and is it less worry of like making sure you get everything across without being too much? Now being in prose, you have more, a little bit room to grow and have a little bit more fun with it, even, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then there was actually a story that I was going to try to adapt into the book, but it worked so much on the comic. It was such a comic specific story. It actually is told from it's told from the back to the front, like the end to the beginning. But then it specifically, if you read it from the page 1 to page 22, you feel a way about the main character. But if you do the opposite and you read it, and it scans both ways. It scans 22 to 1 and 1 to 22.
Oh.
And so, can I swear? I forget.
Yeah.
There's no fucking way I can do that as a story. Like it's not the form, right? Like, so I had the opposite problem too, where there were things that I couldn't do because they were originally comics.
Mm-hmm. And then the good thing about this is, from what I've gathered, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't need to have read the comics to, enjoy or start right into the novel. You could go vice versa, right? Or if you're, for whatever reason not into comics, you could just read the novel and still have a great time, right?
Yeah, 100%. So the thing that I did right off the bat was I put in a foreword, which sort of in short describes going from comic to prose, like why, like it was a comic, just so everyone knows, and why we're doing it in prose form. And then the very next thing is an introduction where it's do you remember the did you ever watch Tales from the Crypt?
Surprisingly, no. I am a huge fan of Creepshow, but as a kid I scared easily, so I didn't really get into my horror self until the college days.
Fair. Totally fair. So I'm trying to think of another example of this where like the opening credits do a really good job of like taking you from knowing nothing about the show to by the end of the credits you're like, I totally get this concept. I did that in this as well. So it's like if you just pick this book up in an office and you never had heard of any of this, the entire introduction is your gateway in, and then after that you're off to the races.
Gotcha. So almost kind of like, Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah, that's a very good one. That's a yes, if you include the kids at the campfire before the story starts. Yes. Yeah. Because otherwise it's I'm like, it's not necessarily moody like this swing.
We're back. Awesome.
but yes, if you include the kids going, welcome to the Midnight Society. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's good.
Cool. And so the next step, we're close to hitting that the second stretch goal.
No one's going to donate. They don't want me to do the stories, so we don't have to worry about
that. So there's 4 days left, correct?
Yes.
Once the 4 days hit, once again, you already hit the one, you hit the goal, which is I couldn't be any happier.
Thanks. Yeah, dude, seriously, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. What's the play? What's the plan after that? After these 4 days are up?
I take everyone's money and leave. It's so anytime I do a Kickstarter, I have been fucked over by Kickstarters before, where it's a lot of promises up front. Everything I work on already exists before I sell it to you. Did I lose your mic? Oh no, he's snowed in. He's snowed in. He's Edward Snowden, and he's gone. It's just me now. Hey everyone, welcome to the Ben Goldsmith Show. So happy you could be here. I'd like to talk to you guys today about butterflies, how to put them in cases, and then arrange them on the wall in a pleasing manner. I hope that that's what you all came for today. And if Mike doesn't come back, I might see this bit all the way through. Yeah, I'm going to do it. So it's important that you have a variety of species. You're going to eventually double up. There's just not enough species that are easily accessible to the average consumer. And that's okay. It's okay. Make sure that when you are getting the different kinds, it's just about the placement of them. And as you can notice, there's different shapes. And there's a bit of a symmetry in the asymmetry, right? You have to sort of plan these things out, but also don't be afraid to go with your whims. Take a risk, take a dare, put something up, and trust that you're going to be able to find its counterpart to balance things out. And sometimes it'll look out of sync, and that's just how you have to get another one. Or if you get another one, you find that place thinking, where's the next one going to be? So it's actually a nice little experiment in letting go of control here. Mike's not back. I think I'm going to I am going to log out and see if he wants me to log back in. Thanks. I thought that was beautiful.
Something amazing.
Oh, you did?
Carrot, orange, ginger. I love the carrot, orange, ginger combination that I would come up with.
I am still technically live right now, so everyone. No. Good. People need to hear this, because I don't want to leave the thing. I don't want to give away your secrets. Recording if you need me to. Stay in the chat. Just talked about butterflies. Poor Mike. Trying to figure it out. We're live. I'm live right now. People are seeing this.
I apologize.
Hey, welcome back. So now everyone who has been sticking with us understands how to properly place and choose the butterflies for their butterfly wall.
I mean, you could have asked for a better technical difficulties, please stand by thing. Like, that's awesome.
That's right. People.
But I do apologize.
I didn't want to leave just in case you're recording this and lost the other bit. So I'm glad that it all worked out.
So,
I think that people are just going to have to accept that whatever we were talking about before is not going to get finished. I think we all have to. This is a good opportunity for us to learn how to let go. So, because if you can't learn how to let go, you end up in the seance room and the ghosts fuck with you. Oh, I remember what I was talking about. The next steps. It exists. It already exists. I've already had an editor on it. All of the art is done. It is truly a matter of printing the books when I get the money, writing the postcards, and making the bookmarks. And I already have all the materials for all that. So the minute the backer reward, the surveys go out, and I find out the thing your horror story is going to be about, whether or not you want me to sign the book, it goes out.
Awesome. And I've put the link to the Kickstarter in the description of this video. So everyone who's interested, feel free to click away on that. Kickstarter. What was that?
Don't though.
Very well laid out Kickstarter, and I'm excited. This is fun stuff. And what's your so I kind of a little bit repetitive, but that's the next step. But as a writer, what's your next plan of attack? Or you're just gonna you want to focus right on this, see how it goes, and see where the wind takes you from there?
That's a good question, man. I spent a year working with Alzheimer's patients in a program in Boston, and while I was there, wrote a book about my experience, which is both heartbreaking and very funny, and a very honest look at the elder care system, while still being like a conversation with me, like how we're doing this now. So I think I really want to focus on that next. And that's a prose book also. As far as comics go, I think I'm going to be taking a pretty big step back. We just finished a sort of arbitration with Scout Comics to get back a book I did with Alex Cormick, which never saw the light of day. So, I mean, there's a chance that could go out. I don't know in what capacity. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of indie publishers right now. Mad Cave is doing some cool stuff, but and I've worked for them before. But I also, it's an exhausting journey, man. And it's, so I think, I'll just focus on the books, here in LA. Of course, I'll be writing scripts for movies because it's what you do. I did get a Western picked up, which,
oh, awesome.
Yep. So, I cannot talk about that yet. But yeah, there's always writing, that's the, as you can probably tell with the hesitancy, there's also a little bit of I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it's funny you say that the novels and there's what kind of the focus is right now, because I myself, kid you not, I'm trying to read more, outside of comics. And
are you?
Time. This past summer, I actually read the first book since high school, like the first book I've read since maybe freshman year of college, because there is that awesome, relaxing element to reading a book. I love comics. I'll love comics till the day I die. But sometimes, especially with how much is out there, it can get overwhelming. I have like my nose in so many different comics and graphic novels. There's something a little like that. Just I can sit down, open a book, and read it. And I love that. I read Daniel Krause's Whale Fall over the summer, which was.
Did you find, how was the getting into it for you? Did you have to fight for it a little bit at first, having not done it for a while?
Little bit. The hardest thing's honestly time, and
Sure.
When you get older, it's just like the less time you have to do that kind of thing, especially when you're, we're both sports fans, we're music, movie, TV, and comic fans, and life, you
have to actively make it. So I've been rewatching every Royal Rumble in order. Because why not? And then and I missed. So I stopped watching wrestling from like 2005 to 2020, right? So like a big 15-year chunk that I absolutely missed completely. Essentially the John Cena years. And so like I'm catching up on all that again. But every time I put that on, it's an active choice, right? Like I'm making a choice. I know that there's books I know I'm trying to go through every record I have in order, alphabetical order, and listen, like sit down and actually listen to them. So I'm making a choice not to do that. I mean, so you're absolutely right. Every time you choose something, you're eschewing another intentionally, right? Like you might not be saying like, I don't want to do that, but by not doing it, that's, so it's tough, man. So you're 100% right to sit down and choose a book. There's a lot of other stuff that you could be doing. And it's, that being said, how was the feeling of choosing that book?
It was great because I pay attention to all the movie news and what's getting adapted. So I saw that book Whale Fall was being picked up. Allegedly, someone has it. There could be a movie coming out. And I love ocean and aquatic stuff. So that kind of made it easier. I wanted to read a book. It was the summertime. I love being by the water. And the premise was pretty cool. It's pretty much, I might be botching the movie name, but 127 hours. But a scuba diver is swallowed by a sperm whale, and we see if he makes it out or not. So that's pretty much all I knew. So that enticed me because that's a whole book. How are they going to make that into a whole book? And then I start reading it when I was able to find the time. They broke it down, so not traditionally chapters, but by his BPM, his breaths per. So there wasn't really a rhyme or reason to it. So along with that, they go to flashbacks, but he's scuba diving because he was estranged from his family, and his father was lost, at sea. So he's looking for his father's remains, scuba diving to try to get back and reunite himself with his family. So there's that whole story, and then in the process, how he comes across the sperm whale. And there's another cool surprise in between, which I had no idea, involving one of my favorite sea animals. I won't go into that, but so the whole book, so it bounces back between him and the whale, as well as you get the backstory with his family and his father. And I thought it was balanced so well that kept me into it. It didn't spend too much time on one or the other. It went back and forth, no rhyme, like no X amount of page back to that, X amount of page back to that. So that kept me going the whole summer. And I'm a slow reader, but it when I finished it, there was that accomplishment, just like you played your first show, or you learned your first song on guitar, or it was that kind of feeling. And so that was my summer goal, and I was able to knock it off.
Good for you, man. That's all. So on top of getting engaged, but that's true. I don't think there's a whole lot of other things that give you that sense of satisfaction, because it's not inherently, as you said, when you get older, easy to read a book, let alone finish a book, right? Like it's two different things to start it versus to finish one. I've done mostly audiobooks lately. Like I've probably done 4-1 audiobooks to actual physical books. It'd be interesting to do audiobooks for Seance from, if anyone. It'd be fun, but maybe it could also be just absolutely masturbatory, But that's my preferred thing lately, is the audiobooks.
People recommend I should do that because I drive so much for work. So between music and podcasts,
let me say this, as a dude who likes music, I feel like musicians have more ear tenacity than necessarily eye tenacity. Right? Like I could listen to a book longer than I can sit and read one in a sitting. And that could be, maybe everyone can. I don't know.
But like that. I never thought of it that way.
So I can actually, so that's a big one too. But you still get the sense of accomplishment every time. I
was agreeing. Oh, definitely. I'm sure.
Yeah, I just finished. I listened to The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, and I wanted to get a classic in, and then Nick Offerman read it, which was kind of cool.
Oh, perfect.
But I was also doing a bunch of big drives at the time too, so that was even better too. It's time well spent, also. Anyway,
sure.
So maybe, I don't know. Maybe we'll do an audio. I'll do an audio version of Seance Room and use a really thick old Boston accent.
Because I actually just picked this up. Speaking of physical books, I don't know if you're a King guy.
I am. Yeah.
So I'm a huge fan of his movies, and I've never been able to read one of his books. And I figure short stories might be the way to go. Because also I've always loved anthologies in movies and TV, Creep Show.
I would say I've read a majority of his books.
That's awesome.
The thing about Stephen King is that, especially post 2000, he's such a consummate writer that it's almost infuriating how perfectly written they are from the standpoint of like structure and from like there's the whole thing with movie scripts where it's like it has to by page 20 you have to do this in the movie, and and it's like Stephen King is so good at this point that I think he's just doing that without even thinking about it. So once you start like reading more books and more, and then you start to read the Stephen King, especially like I said, like post 2000, like post like Hearts in Atlantis type stuff, then you'll see it's just like an Eric Clapton solo. You're like you don't even realize how perfect you're doing it because it's just so innate to you. Yeah, man. Yeah, you'll enjoy it. He's great.
Do you tend to enjoy his books more or the movie adaptations more, or
I should give myself a thumbs up? Is that what happened?
I think you did.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to give. So you beat me at StreamYard tonight.
Just
multiple times.
Books. The books are better. The books are better because the adaptations. Oh, are you paused? Oh, we lost him again. Boo! Boo! Michael Benson. Boo! How's that chicken?
Oh my god, it's amazing.
Really?
I'm taking them tomorrow, so you can what did you eat dinner tonight?
Yeah, I'm not hungry.
Okay, just have like a bite because I need to start. I can't keep spending money on lunch.
That's fair.
I have to like keep away from my food, but
anyone who's listening to this right now, my wife tries to starve me. She refuses to share her food with me.
it's a half story.
No. Keep talking. Digging
No
it.
one's seen you take a little bite. No one's seen what your little bite is.
What I'm capable of.
I'm not hungry. I come back, the whole portion's gone. Oh my God, you make my whole portion.
It's not me.
Hungry?
It's not me at all.
I just don't want you to eat food when you're not hungry, because I will be tomorrow. The abuse.
Is anyone out there looking for an extra roux to keep in their house?
Everyone is.
Michael, come back. Michael, come back. You can blame it all on me. We can just do karaoke. Are we starting a podcast, bro?
I don't have enough time to do things I want to do.
What would our podcast be called? Big and Small? Smart and Dumb? Because I feel like we both... No! Because I feel like we both say smart and dumb things.
I feel like we're both extremely dumb.
We're both extremely... We're just both extremely dumb.
Yeah, extremely smart. I've never heard dumber and smarter things about you.
Then when? Yeah, smarter and dumber than when?
You want me to cite my sources?
Yeah.
So.
No, I mean like, just you mean like just in general.
In general, I've never heard such a gap.
All right, I was curious if maybe there was a time where I said, I said something and you were just like, "Wow, I'm glad I married him," and then like seconds later, "Hey, did you see what I sent you today about the wife putting up with the husband?"
Oh yeah, that was hilarious.
Cody Rhodes, yeah.
I was so busy, didn't saw me.
No, it's okay. Sometimes you're busy, love.
I'm so busy, I saw me. Oh, see, Los Angeles. Ooh, they had this.
Oh yeah, that's what was it again? It was
Oh
something.
my god, it's so cool. It's a warehouse of.
Yes. So it's a prop store that's going out of business.
We're going. How much do you have to work on Saturdays? All day? Do you not know yet?
I still don't know yet. Well, because they're coming back Friday night.
When will you know? Saturday.
Friday.
Okay. It's before Saturday, at least.
Yeah.
If not Sunday.
All
I can figure it out. Figure it out. We got the video.
Okay.
The thing about you is you love being creative, or you used to. You still do, but you used to say things like this. I love being creative. I love knitting. I love this. And then you would not work out and you'd eat a bunch of ice cream. I'd be like, okay, well, you're going to miss living.
Makes
I think
sense.
you made that connection between you can only use your creative brain if your creative brain is alive.
That's right.
And now you're brilliant in all respects.
Perfect.
And now I know words like mendacious. Or sorry, I learned one word. Mendacious.
Mendocino Farm.
Mendocino Farm. It's been
No, I get it. I'm perfect now. I understand. That's what I heard.
Oh,
dropping off Mendocino Farm and they're looking back.
What's
all
up?
right, back.
Oh yeah, me and Rue have been keeping this ship afloat.
Awesome. Thank you. I apologize. I don't know if it's Odin, not liking what we're doing or whatnot, but I don't know. So before we get back to the King, I figure finish that thought. It's been almost an hour. I appreciate your time. Maybe finish some Stephen King and then a final close off and bring it back to Seance Room.
Sure.
So
Please, you're the one who's about to dive in.
So you say the books, you always seem to prefer the books to the movies. Coming from someone who is just kind of trying to get back into reading, which one would you recommend starting out with?
1408. So 1408 was a short story that they made into a full movie, and the story is truly horrifying, scary, a mind fuck. Movie was fine. So that one, that's in Bones and oh, he's gone again. The son of a bitch. You know what? I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it, Rue. I'm gonna call it right now. I'm gonna say, hey everyone, thanks so much for being here with us tonight. We learned about butterflies. We learned about the podcast that Rue and I will never make. And we also learned a little bit about ourselves. Seance Room. And I want you to say that in the background of everything I do from now on. I'll be on. I want to be on an interview for a job. Be like, so what are 3 things about you that really make you stand out as an employee? And be like, well, 1, I didn't learn shit. Guys, first of all, thank you, Michael, for having me. You'll see this later, but also go out, grab Seance Room. It's on Kickstarter right now for the next 4 days. Ends when March begins. So go do it. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Mike. I'll catch you guys later.
Hey everyone, it's Mike back. I do apologize for technical difficulties. Unfortunately, I think the internet gods don't want this to continue any further. So once again, thank you everyone for tuning in, and I apologize for people who were watching or end up watching on the rewind. Thank you so much as always. And yeah, the description, there's the link for the Seance Room novel, the Kickstarter. And thank you for tuning in tonight. Once again, I apologize for technical difficulties. And as always, once again, thank you. Thanks to Ben for being patient. And yeah, we'll just take it from there. And I'll cut it off from here. But take it easy, everyone. I apologize again.